Today I'm going to teach you the best things I've learned over the past 2 years of acquiring $40,000 of credit card debt. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to be paying it off in 4 to 6 months. So let's start with managing debt effectively. If I hop over here, this is a software called Finna, which is actually made by one of my friends, Clay Ratterman, and it actually pulls in all of my financial data, my bank accounts, my credit card statements, my investment accounts, and it shows me basically a dashboard of my finances. And you can see here at the bottom, I've got about $33,000 of liabilities. This is actually a bit higher, but I don't think my Amex cards are updating currently. And over here, I have a personal account, which shows my current assets and liabilities as well. But what if I was to tell you this credit card debt is actually 0% interest? And in fact, I can actually show you this. If I go over to my categories and we run back to last year, we can see that I did pay about $3,000 in interest, unfortunately. That's not too bad for $40,000 of credit card debt, especially when the average credit card interest rate is 24%. This probably would have been zero if I was a little more organized with this stuff, but that's one of the things you're going to be learning in this video. So in order to get 0% interest on your credit card debt, you need to understand the difference between personal debt and business debt, because they are different and banks look at them differently. For example, this is my wallet. I've got a few credit cards in here. There's like 1 or 2 business cards, but the majority of them are personal credit cards. There's probably $15,000 worth of credit here. And in a minute, I'm going to show you actually my credit score, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to jump it from the 600s to the 800s within 30 days. This, however, this is my business credit cards, and there is quite a few of them. Quite a lot. This wallet probably has $60,000 to $75,000 worth of credit here, but when it comes to having 0% interest on your debt, the main thing you want to know is that personal debt and business debt are looked at completely separately. This debt is owned by my LLC, while this debt is owned by me personally. So let's hop over to my Credit Karma real quick and let me show you what I mean by this. So right now I have a 630 credit score, but very important, that credit score is built off of this, my wallet, my personal credit. It is not accounting for the business credit. The business credit has $30,000 to $40,000, while my personal debt is around $5,000 to $10,000. And if I click here and go to my actual credit report and we scroll down, you can see that the highest impacts is the credit card usage at 91%. And I actually have it to 91% so I can shoot this video to demonstrate and showcase you. I'm about to pay it off in this video, but to show you how this works. I'm destroying my personal credit so that you can learn these things. Now, Credit Karma actually has a simulator which will show you what your credit score could be if you cleaned it up and fixed it. So what I'm going to do is decrease my balances. Currently, I've got about $7,000 in personal credit. I'm going to reduce that to 0 as we're going to be paying it off, and that automatically takes my credit score from a 660 to an 800 credit score. Now, let's go back to the $40,000 though of business debt. See, banks separate your personal debt and your business debt. They don't actually look at them the same. So even though I've got $40,000 of business debt here, it doesn't actually impact or show my personal credit score. Now, this is where we get to how do you get 0% interest. As long as you maintain a healthy personal credit score, you can go apply for business credit cards, business debt, and you can use this debt or roll other debt over to it at 0% interest. How though? Well, most business credit cards come with a term that gives you 0% interest for 12 to 18 months. So all of this debt that I acquired was basically 0 interest because it was business debt and not personal debt. And even though this is $40,000 of debt, I could theoretically go spend another $60,000 on business debt. It would still be 0% and it would still not impact my personal credit score at all. I actually made a video 3 years ago called What I Learned Reading 50 Books on Money. And if you haven't seen that video, go watch it. But one of the most important chapters is starting an LLC and understanding the benefits of having a business and an LLC versus running your stuff through personal stuff, which is how you damage your credit score. Theoretically, I could maintain this $40,000 of debt and even increase my personal credit score to 850 if I wanted to. Lastly, one of the best things about business debt is they usually come with really great perks when it comes to points and traveling. In fact, if you follow me on Instagram, which if you don't, you should, I often post me traveling and showcasing that I'm staying at a hotel or I got a flight for free, and the way that I did that was all business debt. Now, I can't take credit for learning all of this stuff. In fact, I've got to give all of the credit to my friend Eddie Garcia. He is actually a credit specialist. He is the one who has taught me all of this. He's also fixed my credit score. So complete shout out to Eddie Garcia, and I'm probably going to have him on in a few videos. But if you are wanting to learn everything I just explained to you and all the stuff that's going to be in this video, highly recommend you go follow him on Instagram, and I'll try to get him in on a video or two. So now that I've explained the basic concepts of personal debt and business debt, let's jump into how do you pay off the debt. To earn more money, you need to offer more value. This is the essence of entrepreneurship, and this is how you surpass the average. Carl Jung once said, if you solve the problem of the individual, you solve the problem of society. In other words, if you solve your problems or others, you can charge them for it. Let me share a business that I started that actually started from a passion of playing video games. Since I was 4 years old, I was playing games like Super Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Command & Conquer, Warcraft 1, and then when online gaming came out, I started playing games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Arma. And with those games, I started joining gaming clans and online communities. Within these communities, I honed my leadership and community development skills. My initial problem was I wanted to play video games with like-minded individuals. Just as Carl Jung said, when you solve the problem of the individual. As I became more and more proficient with building online communities, I realized that this is actually a service I could provide as a business. From a business perspective, customer acquisition and retention is a critical role in any business. There's 4 main ways to generate sales, essentially cold outreach, warm outreach, creating content, or paid advertising. However, one of the most profitable strategies for a business to make more money isn't actually to go out and find new customers, but to build the current customer base and provide more value to them so that they can make more money off of customers that already trust them. Existing customers are way more likely to repeat purchases. And what better way is there to capture, retain, and provide more value to your customers than building an online community around your business and services? So after a decade or two of building online gaming communities, I decided to build online business communities. So what I did is I found a company that I loved with a product and a service that I absolutely admired, and then I built them an online community for free. And in fact, I worked on this community for about a year before they ever even paid me. Then I found 2 more customers and repeated the process. And one of my customers even agreed for me to showcase them. This is Jack Cole and his company Video Production Plus, which is a community geared around teaching young men how to take their video editing skills and begin closing clients for $5,000 to $10,000. In fact, we have a few case studies of kids that were originally making like $500 a month
to making up to almost $3,000 per month every single month at 17 years old after only 2 weeks. This is the real true story of Nico.
I came to Jack and said, hey man, I specialize in building online communities. You've got an online community. I can help you out a lot with what you're doing. And we work together. So between these 3 clients that I'm working with, I'm generating around $10,000 to $17,000 a month in revenue. And I'm currently actually negotiating profit or revenue share with some of these clients to further scale my income well beyond. So this is also the part where I do a shameless self-promotion. If you run a business and you feel like you would benefit from an online community, feel free to reach out to me at my company, socialweave.io. There'll be a link below. Or if you just like to learn more about how an online community might benefit your business. We are selective because there's only certain businesses or services that actually would benefit from an online community. So just keep that in mind. So long story short, how do you pay off $40,000 worth of debt? Well, you provide more than $40,000 worth of value to society or other people in businesses. I'll give you one last tip too that I see a lot of young entrepreneurs make the mistake of. They try to service or provide value to people that don't have a lot of money. General rule, people that are younger don't have a lot of money. So if your demographic is 20-year-old kids who are in college, you're probably not gonna make that much money with your business or service. If you are selling to 55-year-old individuals who are about to retire, they probably have more money. If you are selling to a business or a business owner, they probably generate hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year. So the services and products that you might provide to them will be much more valued and be able to be paid for a lot more. This is the reason that my business focuses on B2B or business to business sales rather than B2C, which is business to consumer, or consumer is like the average individual. My last tip on starting a business and entrepreneurship is don't start a product business, start a service business. Services businesses can be start almost immediately. Basically, you have like a talent or a skill like making online communities. It doesn't take any uptime or development for, well, it takes a little bit, but basically nothing for me to spin up an online community and start educating my clients on what I'm doing. However, starting a product business or selling a physical product or even a digital product, it still takes a tremendous amount of time to develop that. In fact, that's called a J-curve in business, and you basically want to always avoid starting a J-curve business, especially as a beginner. So long story short, don't start a product business. Always start with a service-based business if you want to get into entrepreneurship quick and start cash flowing quickly. So let's move on to the next tip that I have for paying off debt, which is financial accountability. The first thing you need to do when it comes to debt is have the hard conversation with yourself. It's very common to avoid looking in the mirror when you know you have financial issues. It's hard to open up that bank account and look at your negative balances and stuff, but that is the number one thing that you need to do. You need to be aware of where your money's going and being more organized with it. In fact, the reason that you might have a lot of debt right now is because you are disorganized with your money and you are not acting responsibly with it. So while tracking finances can be overwhelmed, and I'm 96 percentile ADHD, so I know exactly what it's like to feel completely overwhelmed with disorganization, I had to build systems that help me become more organized with my debt and my finances so that I can grow my wealth. If you are not organized and not responsible, you will never go anywhere when it comes to developing your wealth, because all of the money that you come in will go right back out. And I'm sure you're probably relating to what I'm saying right now. So when it comes to financial accountability, simple is always the best in my opinion. And it doesn't really matter what you do. It can be as simple as starting a separate savings account and then just auto depositing a certain amount of money into it every month so you don't have access to it. A lot of times removing things from your access or making it harder to access something fixes the problem. For example, if you have a nicotine problem or you vape and you want to stop vaping, having a vape sitting right in front of you is worse than having it 3 feet from you versus in a different room, or if you just throw it away. If you don't have access to it, it's hard to be irresponsible with it, and that includes your money. Now, you can get more advanced, like using the software that I just showed you, finna.xyz, and this is not a promotion. He's not, there's no paid affiliate here. I just think it's an awesome software because I'm super disorganized with my money, and when he built this software, I was absolutely in love with it, and I can't wait to see where this thing goes because it makes my life so much easier. And the last thing that I'd like to point out too when it comes to responsibility with your money is actually being aware of the people and the energy that you're spending your time around. If you're going out every weekend and you're partying, you're spending your money on things that don't really benefit your life. If you have an Amazon addiction, which at one point, like 6 or 7 years ago, I had a bit of an Amazon problem. But the reality was I wasn't spending that money because of logic. And in fact, the psychology of money is we don't spend money at all logically. It's all an emotional thing. So if you are emotionally dysregulated, or if you're emotionally stressed, or if you're just in a bad environment, you're naturally going to spend money in more emotional and ineffective or irresponsible ways. So just be aware of what you're spending your time doing, who you're spending it with, and asking yourself consciously, is this really going to make my life better? Do I really need these things? Or should I probably open up my bank account and see and have the hard conversation with myself that I'm not having and just get responsible with it? Because the reality is that problem will continue to persist until you just face it head on and handle it and become more responsible and accountable for it. And in fact, if you're watching this and you're a guy, you actually will become more attractive too in the dating market if you are responsible and hold yourself accountable to your money and finances, because there's no sympathy for a broken man. It's okay if you're 20 years old and you're broke, but if you're a 40-year-old pizza boy, you're going to have a harder lifetime, and you don't want to be there by the time you're that age. And the last thing I have to say about paying off debt is try to always acquire assets and not liabilities. So an asset is something that you can sell, or it holds its value, or it even grows in value over time. And a liability is something that basically just goes to zero. Liabilities are Amazon addictions, a TV, an Xbox, anything that most consumers buy are usually liabilities. They don't actually have intrinsic value, and they can't be resold, or they don't appreciate in value. So always aim to buy assets. For example, I actually just bought the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I'm shooting all of my YouTube videos on this camera now. So much so that I've decided to sell my DSLR that I've had for 16 years. This is an A6500, and I've got a few lenses that have come with this camera, and together I probably have $4,000 to $7,000 worth of equipment for this camera, but because I travel so much, I kind of find it to be a pain to just handle this all the time. So I'm deciding to sell it and drop it. And I'm actually just gonna be shooting all of my future YouTube videos on my iPhone, because iPhones have basically gotten to the point of DSLR quality at this point. But if you didn't know, these lenses, which some of them are over $2,000 or like $1,500, they hold their value. They don't actually depreciate. So I've had this one for about 6 years. It's still in perfect condition, and I can probably sell it for what I bought it worth. This is an asset. It's a business asset. So if you want to pay off debt, or you want to manage your debt more effectively, make sure you buy assets that complement your business. Obviously, I make YouTube videos, so a camera complements that, and you get to tax write off this as well. Again, go watch the video, What I Learned Reading 50 Books on Money, if you haven't, because it talks about buying things that help you pay off your debt and give you tax advantages. And to explain that simply to you, you pay income tax. So if you were to go buy this lens, I think I bought it for $1,500. It would actually cost you about $2,100 if you account for the income tax that you paid before you got your money to buy this. However, I bought this with business money and business debt, which I get to write off on my business expenses, so I don't pay income tax. So this was actually cheaper for me to purchase this through my business than it would be to buy it personally. So that's paying off debt. But then now let's finish this video up with how to avoid debt in the first place and things that I wish I would have known beforehand. So the first tip I have with avoiding debt is actually a king is not a king without a castle. And let me ask you a question. What's the difference between a king and a prince? The king has responsibility, organization, the ability to delegate, lead. He has compassion and love for his people and his family and those around him. A prince is driven by ego. A prince does not like responsibility. He does not like taking care of others. He doesn't want to be held accountable. And I guarantee you, if you look at the way that you handle your money, or if you're acquiring debt, you'll probably see a psychological correlation to acting like a prince versus a king. And if you're a man watching this and you want to be a more attractive and valuable man, you probably want to avoid the prince mindset or the prince energy when it comes to your finances and money. In fact, your level of wealth in life will be a direct reflection of your level of responsibility, accountability, and organization. And no one will consider you a real man until you can fully sustain yourself. And that includes being responsible with your money. In fact, there's a really great book that comes from everything I just talked about. It's called The King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover. It's about masculine archetypes, and it comes from Carl Jung's psychology, the psychologist that I referenced earlier. And it's basically a breakdown of immature and mature masculinity, and specifically the psyche of a masculine mind. And it is a phenomenal framework I think any guy should read or understand to basically use it as a framework to develop yourself and become better and more successful. Now, when it comes to a king isn't a king without a castle, it requires wealth to have a castle. And it's very important that you should build safety nets and stability inside of your financial life, especially if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, because there will be years where you have really rough years and you also have really great years. One of the mistakes I've made over the past 6 years of entrepreneurship is I did not value stability enough. Now, one of my major goals for the next coming years is to completely pay off and buy a property. I've owned a property before, but I did not have enough equity into it. Now, the reason for that is because entrepreneurship is hard and there's some times where I'm not making a lot of money. So one of the important aspects of becoming more responsible and accountable for your money is being aware of your emotional situation and your financial situation, which they go hand in hand, and basically building stability or building your castle that you can retreat to when you need to. Just like removing toxic or unhealthy people and behaviors, or doing things that don't really benefit your future in life, or they don't add value to you, you also want to build stability in your life financially to acquire more wealth, so that when times go wrong or hard times happen, which they always do, you have a place to stabilize and control what you need to. I believe the key to success and attractiveness is becoming a benevolent leader, but who is also capable of being ruthless with their time, energy, emotions, and money. A man without clear goals and purpose in life will let pretty much anyone into his life. And I'm speaking from experience, including those that will be toxic and waste their time, energy, and money. To be a successful man, you have to have clear goals and objectives and ambitions and a step-by-step process to achieve those. Once you have that plan and that aim point, that gives you the ability to filter out opportunities, people, and behaviors and experiences that don't align with what you're doing. That's why you're seeing a lot online right now about developing your purpose and drive in life. It's because it allows you to filter people and opportunities in and out effectively, thus making you more responsible and accountable and efficient with your money and wealth. You should use your goals and ambitions as a way to filter out toxic relationships or toxic behaviors that you're doing yourself that you need to change or eradicate so that you can become the man that you need to be. And lastly, one of the best things that come from having extremely clear goals and objectives in your life is it allows you to not get emotionally entangled with people that don't add value to your life. In fact, one of the reasons I spent so much money back in the day, especially like when I had my Amazon issue like 6 or 7 years ago, if I look back then, I really was just spending time with the wrong people. And I had the wrong people in my life because I didn't know where I was going in my life necessarily. Once you get clear cut and you decide who you're going to be and what you're going to be doing, it makes it so much easier to filter out the right people and also the right behaviors and things that you spend your money, energy, and time on. In fact, we spend money emotionally almost 100% of the time. We think that we're logical beings. We think that we like money, numbers, it has to be logical. It's almost never that though, if you actually look at the things you spend money with. But in order to make logical decisions with your money, you have to build systems in place that make your money more logical, like using a financial tracking system or keeping your business credit cards in a wallet in a drawer that you almost never access so that you don't have to think about using them. They're just there when you need them if you need them. So this goes back to a king leading and delegating and organizing himself. You have to create systems that organize and simplify your finances to create efficiency that grow your wealth. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. To recap, understand the difference between personal debt and business debt. In order to make more money, you need to provide more value to society. That's the only way that you can grow your wealth. Don't avoid the hard conversations with yourself. Look at the bank account that you're not looking at. Develop financial responsibility and accountability. Use systems to organize your money. Acquire assets, not liabilities in your life, and make sure you're spending money on things that actually grow your wealth in your future. And lastly, develop the king within yourself. Become more responsible and organized, and you'll probably have a better life too. Your problem will continue until you decide to fix it. And once you do it, it's really not that hard or complicated. It just takes dedication and a willingness to do it. Stop avoiding the hard problems. Lastly, if you would like to learn more about this or if you want more content or fixing on your credit, I actually have a link below. It's just a forum. We're not going to send you anything. I just want to get an idea if you're interested in more concepts like this or more resources, and I can make more videos for it. So if you'd like to fill that out or give us some tips and feedback, check out the description in the video.